To create the Quack Daddy scrubber, you'll need a 4.25mm crochet hook or whatever hook size you need to use to reach gauge, a pair of scissors, tapestry needle, a couple of stitch markers, and then instead of polyfill for scrubbers, I like to cut up sponges and use those as fillings. So I just have these Scott Brite regular sponges, the ones without the hard scrubby edge, just the soft ones. And then for yarn, I'm using Red Heart Scrubby Sparkle, and there are lots of different scrubby type yarns out there that you could use as an alternative, but I definitely recommend trying to find this sparkle one because I think it really adds to the duck. The first thing we're going to do is create a magic loop or magic circle. If you've never used this technique, I have it linked below. And then we're going to work 6 single crochet stitches into our magic loop. So chain 1 and single crochet 6 times. Okay, then we're going to pull to close our magic loop. And this pattern is worked in unjoined rounds. So we're going to work a single crochet right into that first stitch. And then because unjoined rounds are really difficult to distinguish where the round ends and begins, we're going to mark that first stitch with the stitch marker so we always know which stitch is the beginning of our round. Then we're going to work another single crochet directly into that same stitch. And work 2 single crochets in each stitch around. Alright, so the next few rounds we'll just be using the standard formula to create a crochet circle. Don't forget to mark the first stitch of each and every round so you don't lose the beginning of your round. And just follow the pattern to create a typical crochet circle. Okay, so I've worked up a circle to where our last round had 7 single crochets between each increase of the circle. And at this point, we're now just going to work 14 rounds of single crochets. So again, don't forget to mark that first stitch of the round. And now just work 14 rounds of just regular single crochet, no increases. Once you've reached the end of round 23, you're going to close the body of the duck. And we're going to do that by using slip stitches to seam across, leaving a hole for the head and for the tail. So let me show you how to do that. You're going to single crochet in the first 18 stitches of round 24. And I like to still mark the first stitch of the round. Okay, that was 18 stitches. Now what you're going to do is you're going to fold the body of the duck so that the edges meet. And for the next 12 stitches, we're going to be working through both the front and the back side stitches. We're going to be slip stitching through both of these stitches, slip stitching them together. So you're going to insert your hook into the next stitch and into the last stitch of round 23. And you're going to slip stitch through those 2 stitches. You're then going to continue slip stitching in the next 11 stitches, working through both edges. When you're done seaming the body of the duck closed, now is a good time to stuff the duck with our sponges, and also check to make sure that you're left with 12 stitches in the tail side. So I'm going to take these sponges and just cut them up. And as I'm cutting, I'm just going to stuff them into my duck sponge. So that was one whole sponge. I think I'll probably use another half of a second sponge. I think I'm actually going to end up using a full 2 sponges to stuff the body. Yeah, so that was a full 2 sponges, and I think that's probably good. It's giving the duck some structure. I think that if we stuff it, or if I stuff this one anymore, you're going to be able to see kind of the lumps of the sponges through the fabric. So I'm going to stop there, and we're going to move on to the tail. To create the tail, we're first going to single crochet around in each of these 12 stitches. So single crochet in that first stitch. And always, I like to just mark my first stitch of the round. and continue working. Okay, this is the last stitch of the round for the tail. You should have 12 stitches. And for round 2 of the tail, we're going to single crochet 2 together around. But I'm going to be using a modified version of single crochet 2 together that's often used for amigurumi, where you're going to insert your hook into the front loop of both stitches that you're decreasing, and then complete your single crochet stitch. So insert your hook into the front loop of that first stitch, and in through the front loop of the next stitch. So you have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, and complete your stitch. Pull through those last 2 loops. And that was our first stitch of the round, so I'm going to mark it with a stitch marker. And continue decreasing, working those single crochet 2 togethers around. So for round 3 of the tail, you're going to single crochet 2 together around again. Just take your time because this round's a little bit tricky. Mark that first stitch so you know when to stop. And it's hard to see, but there should be 2 more stitches in there. This is 1, and there's the second. And then you're going to cut this, leaving kind of a little bit of a tail. So I'm going to just pull this yarn right through the stitch. Then you're going to take a tapestry needle and just kind of weave through the first loops, or sorry, the front loops of each of these stitches and pull to close. So to weave in this end, I'm just going to make a little knot just so I know that it's not going to come out. Pull it tight, double knot it. And then to weave in the ends, I'm going to insert my needle down through and have it come out through a stitch. It's a little bit tricky with the sponges in there because the tapestry needle won't go through the sponges, but then where the yarn came out, just loop around that stitch and stick your tapestry needle through, have it come out at a different place, and do that once more. Make sure you don't pull too tight so it's not pulling on any of those stitches. And then fasten off. Oh, sorry, just snip your yarn. Alright, the last thing we need to do to complete our duck is finish the head. So you're going to take a 4mm crochet hook, and we're going to join a new yarn in the first stitch of round 28, which should still be marked with a stitch marker. Take that stitch marker out and pull up a loop with your new yarn. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're going to single crochet 2 times into that same stitch that the yarn was joined in. And once your duck is stuffed with sponge, this round is a little bit difficult. Just hang in there. Then we're going to single crochet in the next 2 stitches. Oh, don't forget to mark that first stitch of the round with a stitch marker. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then single crochet 2 times in the next stitch. And repeat that pattern around. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches and single crochet twice into the next stitch. Okay, work into that final stitch. And for the next round, round 2, we're going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches and then single crochet twice into the next stitch. So work 1 single crochet right into that first stitch. I don't take out the stitch marker. Replace that stitch marker in the first stitch of round 2, and then single crochet in the next 2 stitches. That's the next stitch right there. Single crochet twice into the next stitch. Single crochet into the next 3 stitches and keep repeating that pattern around. Okay, single crochet twice into that final stitch. And now for rounds 3 through 8, it's a little bit easier. You're just going to single crochet in each stitch around. Don't forget to mark the first stitch of your round each time. So I've just finished round 8 and I'm going on to round 9. This is our first decrease round. So the first thing you're going to do on round 9 is single crochet 2 together, and I'm going to use an amigurumi decrease. To do that, you insert your hook into the front loop only of the next stitch and into the front loop only of the next stitch. So you'll have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops. You'll have 2 loops left on your hook, yarn over and pull through both of them. Mark that first stitch with a stitch marker. And what that amigurumi decrease does is it just makes it a little bit less noticeable than a regular single crochet decrease. Now I'm going to single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And single crochet 2 together one more time. So insert your hook into those front loops, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, complete your stitch, single crochet in the next 3 stitches, and continue that pattern around. Single crochet in those last 3 stitches of round 9. And for round 10, we're going to do the same thing, but this time there will only be 2 single crochets between each decrease. So single crochet 2 together. Replace that stitch marker. Single crochet in the next 2 stitches, and then single crochet 2 together. And continue working that pattern around. Alright, once you've completed round 10, we have 2 more rounds to go on the head, but now's a good time to attach safety eyes and stuff the head. So if you don't want to use safety eyes, you can just leave them off, and you can use some embroidery thread, black embroidery thread, to just embroider the eyes on after you're done. I'm going to use safety eyes, and I have attached them 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 rows down from round 10, and kind of a little bit on the side. So I had to look up a picture of a duck, and duck bills kind of go in between the eyes, so it's going to look a little bit silly, but if you can kind of picture it with the bill on there, you just want to have them off center just a little bit. And then we're just going to stuff the head like we did the body. And the head is a little bit smaller, so I'm actually going to cut these pieces down a little bit. When you're attaching safety eyes, there's the flat side and the rounded side. You want the flat side up against the fabric. Great. Okay, I've got my safety eyes on, and I'm going to finish stuffing the head. Alright, for round 11, you're going to single crochet 2 together, and you're going to have 1 single crochet stitch in between each decrease, or single crochet 2 together. Don't forget to replace that stitch marker. Single crochet in the next stitch, and then single crochet 2 together again. Alright, single crochet in that last stitch of round 11. And then the last round, round 12, we're going to single crochet 2 together around. And at this point I found it's easier to take the tip of my hook and kind of just grab that first loop instead of trying to insert the top of the hook into the stitch. It's our last round, but still mark that first stitch so we know. And continue single crochet, crocheting 2 together around. Alright, I finished round 12. We're going to fasten off, leaving a little bit of a tail for seaming. I like to just pull that tail through that last stitch. And you're going to take a tapestry needle and thread your yarn through the tapestry needle. We have 6 stitches left in this top round. So what we're going to do is take that stitch marker out, weave in and out through the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. Do that in the next 2 stitches. And in the final 2 stitches. And pull to close. So then I'm going to insert my yarn through the head of the duck and pull. And around that stitch and through in another place. Around that stitch and out through a third place. And just fasten off. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the tail end right here. So for this tail, there's a little bit of a hole at the base of the neck where it was joined. So I'm just going to use this tail to seam that shut with a knot. And a second time. And then we can just weave that in. And that's the duck. All that's left to do is the beak. To create the duck bill, we're going to take a 4mm crochet hook and some more of our yarn, and we're going to make a slip knot and chain 4. Single crochet in the second chain from your hook in that back hump of the chain. These chains are really hard to work through. I'm just going to take a tapestry needle and kind of open it up. Mark that first single crochet with a stitch marker and work into the back hump of the next 2 chains. Work into the back hump of the next chain. Then we're going to single crochet 3 times in this final chain right here. And we're going to kind of turn our work, so now we're working back down the opposite side of the chain. So if you can see, we're just working in these 2 chains right here, it's the other side of the chain. So single crochet in the next one, the next chain, and single crochet twice into that final chain. And we already have 1 single crochet in that chain, so that makes 3 total in this first chain. So what we've done is we've just made a little oval, and you should have 8 stitches. 3 stitches in the first chain, 3 stitches in that last chain, which is 6, and then 7, 8. Those 2 single crochets right there. So for the next few rounds, until round 5, we're going to just single crochet in each stitch around. So as you work up rounds, you can see it's taking on more of a duckbill shape. I'll meet you back after I've finished round 5. Alright, so I finished 4 rounds. I know I said 5 rounds, but I think 4 rounds actually looks a little bit cuter, so I'm going to stop at 4 rounds. I'll change that in the pattern as well. If you want a bigger bill, you can go to 5 rounds, but I think that's pretty cute. I'm going to stop there. So what I'm going to do is fasten off, leaving a tail for seaming. So a pretty good tail. And then I'm going to do what's called an invisible join. Just pull your tail end through that stitch. Thread your yarn through a tapestry needle. I'm just going to cut this tail end down because it's going to be on the inside of the bill, so you won't see it. Just tuck it in. So to make an invisible join, I'm going to skip that first stitch and I'm going to go into that second stitch, take out this stitch marker, pull it through, and then I'm going to come back from where that yarn is originating, and just go through that stitch. Alright, so now we just need to attach our duckbill. So just use this tail end. Here, let me get a good angle. And we're just going to whip stitch it onto the face right in between those eyes. If you don't have safety eyes, you might want to embroider your eyes on before you attach the beak so you can just see how everything's kind of looking. So I'm going to actually start on the bottom. Go slow with this step. There's no need to rush seaming. Pick up a stitch on the duck and go through a stitch on the beak. And just work that around in each stitch on the beak. Pick up a stitch on the face and then work through a stitch on the beak. And you can see after each stitch, I'm kind of adjusting to make sure it's exactly where I want it. Alright, once you have that beak securely attached, I'm going to make a little knot down here. Make it a double knot. And just weave in that end. And that's your duck.